I thought I was gonna be thuggatry, but y'all, woo. Welcome back to my channel. So I wanted to make a video on my testimony on how I got into dental school miraculously. And I just wanted to share my story. I've been wanting to do this for some time now. I'm now a D2. About to finish my first semester of my D2 year in 2 days. So I was like, you know what, Lord, when I should do this video? You think today's a good time, Lord? You think today's a good day? He said today's a good day. So I have a little outline. I'm gonna try to stick to the outline, but I don't know what I'm about to say, but I'm about to just flow with the Holy Ghost. Okay. So starting off, let's talk about how I even became interested in dentistry. So one day I was 14 years old and I went to the dentist. I went to the dentist, my little filling kept falling out, and I'm like, why is my filling falling out? So I went to the dentist. I was a little nervous of going to the doctor. I got white coat syndrome. And so I was a little nervous. So I went to the dentist and my doctor said, now this is about my third time going back to the dentist for this filling that kept falling out. I go to the dentist. My dentist said, you need a root canal because now there's bacteria that got inside your tooth. I said, what you mean I need a root canal? So I went home and I went on good old YouTube, the good old YouTube, baby. And I searched root canal. And so when I'm looking at the video, I realized that a root canal is really cool. I'm like, okay, this is really interesting. I didn't even know that thing exists. And so I went to my dental appointment. Instead of being very, scared and nervous, I was very intrigued. I was like, wow, this is very cool. I was asking questions to the dental assistant, and I know she was like, girl, be quiet. I was asking the dentist questions. I'm like, this is very cool. I was interested. So then I knew that I wanted to be a dentist right then and there. So fast forward, now I'm about to graduate high school. I tell my mom, I think I want to be a dentist, but I'm just not sure. She's like, why you not sure? I said, because I got to go to school for 10 years. And let me give y'all a little background of my education growing up. Now, I wasn't the brightest crayon in the crayon box, right? I was set back 2 grades in elementary school. Your girl couldn't read a thing. I was in the classrooms with the students with the helmets on. Yeah, they pulled me out. They pulled me out to them classrooms every day. Your girl had to do summer school just to learn how to write. Just to learn how to read. Your girl was struggling. And so when I was in elementary school, they tried to test me for learning disabilities, things like that. But my mama said, nope. She pulled me out of school, homeschooled me. And that's when I realized I was set back 2 grades. I was supposed to be in the 5th grade. But the homeschool program I was in put me in the 3rd grade. So I was like, dang, girl, you dumb. I really did feel that for a long time. I said, girl, you dumb. And I held on to that until I graduated high school. Although I graduated high school at 17, a year early, I still thought I was just as dumb as I don't know what. So I told my mama, I can't go to college because I'm not good enough to go to college. So fast forward, now my mama said, I got 3 months to figure out what I want to do in my life. I said, okay, I already knew I wanted to be a dentist. So I said, how about I just go to dental assisting school so I can see the real world of dentistry, right? So I did. I enrolled into dental assisting school. I'm 17 years old at this time. I go into the open house. The director was there, the owner of the entire dental assisting program. I read on that paper, it said, you must be 18 years or older to join. I said, God dang. I said, Mama, it said I gotta be 18. Mama, I'm not 18 yet. She said, well, go talk to the director. I said, me? Talk to the director? What you mean? So I said, all right, I'm going to go ahead and talk to that director. I walked up like that. I was so scared. I walked up. I said, excuse me. I'm very interested in joining your program, but your paper says that I must be 18 years or older and I'm 17, but I just graduated high school. And he said, wow, you're very eager, and I see, you're interested in dentistry and being a dental assistant. He said, sure, I will let you in this program, but you have to be 18, shortly after. And I'm like, okay, I got the program was 3 months long. I was turning 18 in a few months, so I was able to join the program. My name was Baby. That was my name. Everyone was married with kids and they called me Baby, and I looked like a baby. I'm gonna insert a picture right here. And so after that, I was like, okay, cool. I fell in love with dentistry, y'all. I was the top of my class. My partner, she was first because she got 99 in the class. I got a 98 in the class by the time I was done. It was the best experience I've ever had. I knew I was going to be a dentist. I said, yeah, this is it. But I still had to see the real world of dentistry first. So I ended up getting a job on my 18th birthday, which was crazy. And I worked as a dental assistant when I was 18 years old. And I was just, working my way on up. And so now I get to the time where I'm like, okay, I'm a dental assistant. I love this. It's so amazing. I realized that I really had a gift in dentistry, which is so fun. Anything dental related just stuck to me, and I have no learning disability. I was like, wow, this is cool. I actually can understand. One day I said, I really want to be a dentist, but I'm so terrified of college. Y'all, I didn't even know how to apply to college. When I say everyone in my family is like an entrepreneur business, and I ain't seen nobody go to college, I said, I had to text my friend, how do you apply to college? Because I don't know how. I don't even know the process. I was homeschooled, and I was taught by a business entrepreneur mother. She didn't tell me to go to college. So I decided that I wanted to go to college, but I was scared. So my prayer was, I said, now Lord, I think you want me to be a dentist, but I'm not sure. I need you, if you want me to go to college to be a dentist, a doctor, I need you to get somebody to pull me to the side and tell me through their words, through their mouth, that I should be a dentist. And I promise you, I'm going to do it, and I'm not going to turn back. I said, I'm going to trust you, y'all. A few days later, I went to work, and when I went to work, my doctor said, Patrice, I need to talk to you for a second. Come in this operatory. I need to talk to you for a second. And I just knew right there. I said, girl, you finna get fired. You finna get fired. I didn't know what I did, but I knew I was done. I said, well, that was that. It was a good role. You know what I'm saying? It was a good time. And so I walked into the operatory, and my doctor that I was working for, the owner of the practice, she just sat me down and she said, Patrice? I said, yeah. She said, I really think you should be a dentist because you have so much passion and you're really good. And I really think you'll do well. You should really be a dentist. And I was stuck. I said, oh my God. I just prayed that prayer a few days ago. What you mean? Y'all, when I say I was stuck, y'all, I was in shock. I said, so you mean to tell me I really gotta go to school to be a doctor? So what I did was, I took her advice. She said I should be a dentist. I would do great, and she was there, she was there supporting me, and she literally taught me everything I needed to know as a dental assistant and expanded functions, the whole thing. She taught me it all, put me through so many trainings, and I am grateful for her. I can't wait to pay back when I make it. Okay, so now it was time for me to apply to college, y'all. I told y'all I didn't know how to apply to college, but I figured it out. I applied to college, and it was time to go to school and take the placement test, because I had to start from a community college because I was homeschooled. I have no grades, you know what I'm saying? I had a high school diploma, but I didn't have any, like grades to show. So I had to start from the bottom, and I went to a community college that was down the street, and I went in there and I had to take a placement test. And so when I went to take the placement test, your girl didn't pass the placement test. I said, I didn't get placed in a class, not reading or English or math. It said I never knew somebody that couldn't pass a placement test. Like, how do you fail a placement test? That's just the question I had. I ended up in a developmental reading class. Yeah, started from the bottom, y'all. And so I still needed help with math. I wasn't placed in no math class. I think I was placed in a developmental class, and I started the class, but I had to teach myself in the class, which was weird. It's like a program, and you had to teach yourself, and I needed guidance. I knew nothing of math, like terrible. And so I ended up transferring from that community college to a new community college because I moved, and I didn't want to drive like that far. So I had to do the process again. I ended up in English, which I ended up thriving in. I just needed, a little assistance. I ended up getting straight A's in English, but it was, I had to work my way up. But math, I still was avoiding math. I did every single class I needed, but I needed math in order to get to the sciences because I did all of my prereqs. So I do this placement test again at this new community college. And of course I failed the placement test again. Now, at this point, I'm like, now, Lord, you said that if I do this, you said you was going to be with me now, Lord. Now, it's looking a little funky. It's looking a little funky. I ain't gonna hold you, because I can't pass a placement test. Like, how I'm gonna get placed in the class and I keep failing a placement test? So the lady said, okay, I failed the placement test. She said, okay, we're gonna take another test. I said, okay, we're gonna schedule it. I said, cool. So we scheduled that test, and I failed that test, y'all. I failed that, and that was some basic stuff. And so the lady came over, and she had this little paper in her hand. And she said, dear, we got a problem. And I said, well, shoot, apparently we do. I mean, they put me in a room that was dark and had nobody in it. I had no distractions or anything like that. So I'm like, yeah, you think? I'm pretty sure you know what I'm saying? I can't do it. I don't know what's wrong with me in numbers. It was just weird. And so she told me that I had to do a math class in the elementary school down the street in the evenings. Then she said, or you can come here to this community college, but you have to do, you have to be here at 8 in the morning in order to, like, get the classes, and it's not accredited, it's not gonna go towards nothing. You just have to do is adult math class for, like, things like that. So I walked in there the very first day, and I was still taking other classes like art and stuff like that. I walked in there, and I didn't really feel like I belonged. It was chaotic in there. It was some just different people in there. Some people, they were special needs, and some people have behavioral issues and things like that. And I was just there for math. They had math and reading and spelling and adult skills, all kinds of stuff, how to, communicate and how to talk and how to, that kind of stuff. I didn't feel like I belonged, man. I sat in there and I did my part, though. I did the reading, I probably needed it for real. And, and then got to the math part. My teacher would come over. We did one-on-one, it was cool. Then I got through that. So now I'm ready to, like, transfer from a community college to a university because I received my 30 credits to transfer to the university, right? By the way, I don't know how long this video is going to be, but if you still rocking with me, thumbs up. So I end up going to my university. I transferred over and they said, yeah, I got accepted into the university. Cool, right? I had to take another test for math. And so I'm like, here we go again. Like, I know that other class wasn't credited. I just had to learn a little bit, like the basic skills, the 1+1s, the subtraction, multiplication, division, stuff like that. I had to learn from the bottom up. So I get there and I take the placement test. I don't know how in the world I got placed into, I believe was pre-algebra. Yeah, it was pre-algebra. So I got placed into pre-algebra and I did that. And I was struggling so bad. I was in the tutoring room, the tutoring office, like every day. Those people knew my name. I was in there all day till it closed after class. And so my teacher was one of the tutors and he saw me in there like every day. Like he gave me so much grace. He let me take my exams in the tutoring room because he knew that I was a little special. I appreciate him so much because I would not have been able to do it in the classroom because it was too chaotic and crazy. And I was the kind of girl that sat in the very front row. So then I got through that part, passed that class with a C. Then I don't know how I went from pre-algebra. I think it was from pre-algebra to calculus. I guess I was in the algebra class. I don't know. I thought it was pre-algebra, but I went from pre-algebra to calculus or something like that. It was weird. But I ended up taking this class. It was right before the pandemic happened. And I remember my first exam I took and I got an F on that joint. I didn't even probably get one right in that first calculus class. And so then it was the shutdown, It was the pandemic, 2020 pandemic. And I literally was like, how in the world am I going to pass this math class? Because it was giving ghetto, y'all. When I say ghetto, y'all, I had a F. I said, all right, now in order for me to make it through this class, I'm going to have to partner with the Lord. I'm going to have to really do my part because I know that faith without works is dead. I said, I'm going to have to do my part. I'm going to grind. I'm going to hustle. I'm going to do my part. I'm going to study every single day. I'm going to go to my teacher's office hours. I'm going to hire a tutor and I'm going to study all day, all night math. Y'all, after my first F, I worked so hard. In 3 weeks, I had my finals. That F I had was a midterm, and it was accelerated. So I had an F on my midterm, and I had 3 weeks to turn it around. And I said, you know what? I'm going to partner with the Lord because I know he won't fail me because he told me to be a dentist. He told me to go to school to be a dentist. So what I did was, I'll tell you what I did. I leaned in on the Lord. That's what I did. When I was in my professor's office hours, when I tell you that man was tired of me, I was in there every single day, all day, one-on-one, because nobody else was taking advantage of it, and it was virtual. So I was in there every day, and I knew that man was tired of me, y'all. But I needed help, and it was calculus, and I had to make it because in order for me to get into my other science classes, I had to, fulfill those requirements. And I had no other classes left because I done did all my other classes that didn't require math. So I had to do it. And so I remember it was the final and we had to show proof of our math. We had to write it out, take a picture of it with our, virtual filling in the multiple choice. And I remember the clock ran out on me. Time ran out on the clock. And I said, hello, hey, professor, the clock ran out. Can you reset it for me, please? I was almost done. I had about 5 more questions left. Can you reset the clock, please? And he said, I don't do that, but because you've been in my class, office hours every single day, I know you're trying. I'll reset the clock and just try again. I said, thank you so much. Y'all, it was by the grace of God, I got a B on that final, y'all. When I say it was the grace of God, I went from an F to a B in the whole class, y'all. I was like, thank you, God. So that was that. So now we're at the point where I'm in the university now, and I really am on my way to pursuing dental school. Now I have to like get my application stuff together. So now at this part, I'm learning to, I'm studying for the DAT for 3 months. I'm figuring out the schools that I'm applying for. I had research already under my belt from my school. And I also had, at that point, it was almost 10 years of experience as a dental assistant because I was always in school and working at the same time. So at this point, I'm studying for the DAT, and it was rough. It was rough, but because I was in school, I was also teaching assistant, teaching biology, chemistry, and anatomy and physiology. So I was busy, and I had research too. I took the DAT the first time, and it wasn't terrible. Like, my sciences was strong, but my math and reading was terrible, y'all. I probably got like a 14 or something like that in the math and reading. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna just do it again because my sciences was really strong. I'm just gonna take another 3 months and study again, and focus on the math and reading and retake the test. Now, when I retook the test, y'all, it was worse than before. Like, when I say worse, like 12s. Like, I don't know, that test was so hard. It went from, okay, not that bad, to like hard. And I'm like, oh my God, like, dang. When I say I was so discouraged, I cried after the exam, y'all. When I say I cried my eyes out, I said, I don't know if I can do it, y'all. I don't know if I can do it. I don't know if I could be a dentist. I cried my little heart out, y'all. But you know me, Big P, I ain't a quitter. And so what I had to do was I had to figure it out, think about it, figure out what is it that is making me not succeed. And I had to think about it within academia. Y'all know what I'm trying to say. And so I realized that I had an issue with staying focused, and like anything would take my attention. If I see somebody walking in the hallway, I'm gonna be like, wow, where are they going? And I'm not paying attention. I will sit in class, and I'm in class, but I'm not listening because I'm not an auditorial learner. I have to like write and, do things like that. And I have to like teach in order for me to understand stuff. It got a bite-sized pieces for me. And so I had went to therapy to figure out what was wrong with me. They said I had ADHD. I said, okay, well, that makes sense, Y'all, I don't try everything. I don't try medication. Y'all, it wasn't it. Well, I knew it wasn't for me when I stood up and I was tumbling down, boy. I said, wow. Every time I stood up, I was about to fall out. So medication was not it for me. So I had to lean on Jesus. Even during that time of me failing the DAT twice, I had an advisor tell me that I could not be a dentist because, he didn't say I couldn't be a dentist. He said that I wasn't competitive enough to go to a HBCU because I wanted to go to either Meharry or Howard, because I just wanted to go to a HBCU because my undergrad is a HBCU. I had my advisor telling me to apply to Nebraska because they need diversity, and I got a better chance there. And I said, no, sir, I am going to the school of my dreams. My school of my dreams was Meharry. And I was like, I'm going to the school that I want to go to. Like, I'm not going to Nebraska. It's not wrong with it, but I feel like I thrive in my community. You know what I'm saying? So I had him telling me that I couldn't do it, couldn't go to a HBCU, wasn't competitive enough. Then I done failed my DAT twice. And then at this point, I'm literally studying for the DAT again. I'm seeking out help by professionals because I'm trying to figure out what's wrong with me. I know when I was in elementary school, they was going to test me for something, seeing what's wrong with me, but my mama pulled me out so I didn't get a chance to know, what learning disability do I got? I know I got ADHD, but hello, help me. I was on that process of trying to figure out, because I feel like I got dyslexia. Like, I can't spell for nothing still to this day, y'all. And me and words words be wording, and math and numbers just weird. I say words are colors and colors are words and letters are numbers and numbers are letters. Like, I still to this day be doing that, but it was real bad back then, because now I got a little Jesus, big J. Say big J. I feel like I'm thriving now, but back then I really needed some help. And so one of the professionals that I was seeking help, being very vulnerable, telling this man every single thing that goes on. I couldn't pass the DAT because of reading and math is just tough for me, but I was excelling in sciences. And so this man looked at me in my face and said, well, if you can't do that, then you can never be a dentist. If you can't pass this test and you ain't pass it yet, you will never be a dentist. In my head, in that moment, when that man said that I could not be a dentist, and he's like, you ain't gonna be no dentist if you can't pass this test, I laughed in his face, because apparently I've made it this far, and I was at this point a senior in undergrad. I was teaching other students biology, chemistry, anatomy, physiology. I was doing research. I was making straight A's and all that by the grace of God, because I learned how to partner with the Lord, although I was very inadequate. So after that, I was like, wow, like, these people are really playing me. Like, they really trying to play me in my face like that. Like, they really trying to tell me that I can't be a doctor, when the Lord told me clear as day that I'm in school to be a dentist and that I will be a dentist. Like, what you mean? So I laughed in his face, because I knew that the Lord carried me through all of these things. I believe that he was going to carry me through the DAT as well. I tried to get accommodations in the DAT. It was just so much against me getting accommodations or anything that I really had to rely on the Lord my third time to pass the DAT. Fast forward. So now I'm graduating senior year. I had my personal statement written. By the way, my personal statement was so good, by the grace of the Lord, that they used it as an example for all the other pre-dental students. I wonder if they still got it. They probably don't. Anyway. So, because I realized that if my grades wasn't that well, or my DAT score wasn't that good, that everything else had to come swinging hard. Because at this point, these little funky grades looking real stank. You know what I'm saying? So fast forward, I'm graduating my senior year of undergrad, and I got into a summer enrichment program for 6 weeks, and I had to move there for 6 weeks. I ended up coming back for a day to graduate undergrad, and then I had to go back. Now, in this program is when I realized that my science GPA was a 3.8, and I had no idea. When I say I had no idea that my science GPA was a 3.8, I thought she had the wrong candidate. Now, we were doing mock interviews. And so the lady, I guess she was the dean. Yeah, she was the dean of the school doing a mock interview. And she said that my GPA, science GPA was a 3.8. And I was like, what? That's crazy. I really thought that they had the wrong student. But my name was there, and she had all of my information. So that was that. And they had a 2 mock interview during that program, which the program was just a pretty much you're acting like a dental student for 6 weeks. You're taking all the classes, you're doing the interviews, you're being prepped for dental school for your own process, pretty much how it was. And after you finish that, you have a chance of going to their dental school, which was, was a cool opportunity. So once I had my mock interview, the guys that interviewed me, he was like, Patrice, this is a mock interview, but if this was real, I would accept you on the spot. I was like, what you mean? I mean, let's talk about something. You know what I'm saying? Let's talk about something. I believe in the big God. I believe in the big God. I know he can do it for me, but y'all, I had to take that DAT again. I had to take the DAT again. That was the only thing that was really stopping me from succeeding at that time was my DAT. Fast forward, so now I done applied to, girl, probably about 10 to 12 dental schools at that point, and I got rejected. All of them rejected me. It's probably because of my scores and stuff. But at this point, before I left for that 6-week summer enrichment program, I said, I am going to faith this entire thing. I said, I wanted, my dream school was Meharry, and I said, I'm going to apply to Meharry, and it was a day before the deadline, and I applied to Meharry. And I said, I am going to faith it. I'm going to apply, and whatever comes out of this is going to be good, because I trust that the Lord will work with this, and it's going to be a good outcome. I don't care what come out of it. It's going to be good. So I applied. So then I go throughout the 6-week summer enrichment program. That was done. Thank God. That was done. And then I came back home 6 weeks later. Now, a week after I came home, I received my rejection from Mary. They said, no, ma'am. But then I received another email that I was going to not even read, because I received another email and I was like, okay, Meharry, you done already told me I'm rejected. Like, you done denied me. You're going to deny me again. Send me another email. But then I read the email and it said that they wanted to offer me a seat to their master's program. And I said, wait a minute, hold on, what you mean you want to offer me a seat at the master's program? Y'all, I didn't apply to the master's program. I didn't even know the master's program even exists, y'all. I didn't even have to write no paper. I didn't have to do no interview, nothing. All I had to do was accept. And I think I had to I don't know if I had to pay for my seat. I think I did. I can't remember though. And so I ended up being a master's student, y'all. I was like, what the heck? But I did trust the Lord, and I told the Lord that I believe something really good was going to come out of me applying to Meharry last minute. But they told me that someone from the dental school recommended me to be in the master's program at their school. So I did that master's program, and in the beginning it was a big adjustment from being a bachelor, like an undergrad student, to being a master graduate student. It was a big shift, and I cried every day, y'all. I was crying real tears every single day. I really had to lean on the Lord to help me through that program. It was an 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. program every single day, and then our week of exams was literally an exam every single day. It was crazy, y'all. The first semester was rough, but I pushed through. I was on academic probation, and I trusted the Lord that he was going to get me through, because the Lord said that I was going to be a dentist and that I was going to go to dental school. So I trust the Lord. I didn't go by what I see. I walked by faith, and I never walked by sight. So I kept going. So now it's time for me to take the DAT again, because they had a deadline for us to take the DAT for the students that was in that master's program. We had to take the DAT, I think it was by January or February or something like that. And I haven't taken the DAT for the third time yet. So I had 6 weeks to study for the DAT, and I literally studied after 8 to 5, and I studied 2 hours after class, even if we had exams. It was terrible. It was terrible. And I cried so much, y'all, because it was so hard. And I was also thinking about how much I failed, and it was my last chance. And I felt that it was my last chance. But usually when you take the DAT, you only get 3 chances, and then you got to do all this extra stuff. So it was my last chance, and I just had to do my part, because I knew if I did my part, the Lord was going to meet me, and that he's going to carry me through. So I had tutors for the DAT. I just tried my best every single day, worked very hard. Then it was time for me to take my DAT. Y'all, why my test canceled? Because it was a blizzard. Yeah, I was about to quit. I was about to be like, nope, I guess I'll just try again later. You know what I'm saying? So, but Big P ain't a quitter, so I kept going. me back up. Me studying from after class happened after my test canceled because I had 6 weeks of a winter break to study. Then I studied after class. So this is now me studying after class. After 8 to 5, I studied 2 hours after class every day until my next test date because my test date canceled. So now I'm in school studying. Y'all, we get to the test date. Why my test canceled again? I was like, what is happening right now? Like, I'm tired. I'm in a accelerated master's program, 8 to 5 every day. These tests is crazy as heck. Like, I feel like I was getting beat up. When I say black eyes, man, I was getting beat up so bad. Like, it was crazy. I almost quit. I was about to be like, you know what? Okay, let me just finish this last spring semester, and I'm just going to try again when I graduate. But you know, Big P not a quitter. Big P not a quitter. I had accountability. I had a mentor to, like, I had to report to her every single day to help me, to stay focused. And it was hard, man. When I say it was so hard, but in my mind was like, if you just push one more time, you don't even know, like, your breakthrough is right there behind one more push. So y'all push one more time. I did. And I scheduled my test date. This time I rescheduled it to being in a different area. I was in Maryland. I scheduled it to be like 2 hours away in Virginia because I didn't want it to be in a city. I wanted it to be in a country area where was nobody going to even be in there. I knew ain't nobody was going to be in there because I didn't need no distractions or nothing. I had no medication. I had no accommodations, nothing, just Jesus. It was time for me to take my DAT. I was in the hotel room, and the whole time I'm getting my faith up. You know what I'm saying? I'm getting my faith up. I'm telling myself who the Lord is. I'm reminding him of who he is. I'm telling myself it's already done. I've been praying every single day, thanking the Lord that I was already in dental school for a few years. And I was like, here it is. All I got to do is do it. It's already done. The Lord is going to work through me, and I'm just going to lean in on the Lord. He's going to speak to me. I'm going to make sure I'm quiet so I can hear him. And that's what I did. I walked in there as if I passed the DAT, y'all. So I walked in there, and I remember going through the whole process. They got to pet you down and do all that kind of stuff. I sat down at the desk, and I was ready to take my DAT. I told myself that I was not going to take no breaks because I didn't want no door opening for the enemy to give me any doubt at all. My faith was up. When I say my faith weight was up, baby, I was strong. You couldn't tell me that I didn't pass that DAT before I even took it. So I sat and I took the DAT. First I said a prayer. I didn't care I was like this, y'all. I didn't care who saw me. I was like this. Because I needed Jesus, and he did meet me in there too. I did the science part, and then I got to the math part. Now to the math part, now y'all know how I am with them numbers, right? I was literally, I said, Father God, A, it's A. Lord Jesus. Y'all, math was just terrible for me. And I did all the easy ones that I knew how to do, but all that, the trig and the stoichiometry, that's chemistry. Anyway, all that other stuff, I just could not get with it. I don't know, but I did enough, it was good enough. And I meant to tell you, for the reading section of that test, I actually had to teach myself how to read during my prep of the DAT. Y'all, I really had to teach myself how to read. Like, I needed to learn how to read quickly and comprehend at the same time. So I bought a course that could teach me how to read and comprehend. And y'all, my scores was beautiful, y'all. I couldn't believe it when I had received my scores. I was like, wow. Like, just got to listen to the Lord. He really going to tell you how to do it. He really is going to guide you. So when I was finished and I pressed submit, I was like, thank you, God, for my grade. Press submit. First of all, before I press submit, I said, Lord, you can go through this computer right now. You can give me the grade, the scores that I need. All you got to do is go through this joint. You big guy. You know what I'm saying? You big guy. And so then I pressed submit. And I was so surprised at my scores, although I was like, I think I was probably like 1 point below what I needed or something like that. And I was a little nervous about it, but I still believed that it was good enough because the Lord can work with anything. I just had to give him something to work with, you know what I'm saying? So now I'm in my program, my master's program, and I'm at the point where I'm giving them my scores. I had already applied to Meharry, and I just had to believe that the Lord, now it's the Lord's turn. His turn. I done did everything I could do in my power and ability. Now I needed him to go ahead and put his super onto my natural, make some shimmy shake, you know what I'm saying? And so in that moment, I was literally, the Lord told me that I needed to start preparing for my interviews now, because he said it's going to happen fast. I said, okay. So I started, going over interview questions, like what would I say in my interview? How would I introduce myself? Things like that. I did a whole mock interview by myself, y'all. Y'all would have thought I was in front of the people the way I was doing that interview. But literally, one day I was in class and I received the email that the assistant dean, I think, of the dental school, she wanted me to call her ASAP. I was so nervous, y'all. I didn't know why I was calling the assistant dean of admissions at my school. So I was so nervous. I said my prayer. I'm like, Lord, just be with me. Give me the words I need to speak. If I have any questions being asked to me, like just have me to be focused, you know what I'm saying? And so I called the assistant dean. And she said, and we were talking, and she asked me about my DAT scores, and I was telling her about one particular score. She was like, I think it was like, it wasn't really, it wasn't, that good. And so she asked me what happened, and I told her the clock was clocking. I had to be normal. I had to be myself. I'm silly all the time, but I'm professional at the same time, and we was kikiing because it was funny. I'm like, the clock was clocking. Like, I ran out of time. That's what happened. I ran out of time, and she laughed about it, and then we were talking about how in the program, the master's program, how I had an uptrend in my grade because I was working so hard, y'all. My grades, I was making it in the first semester, but I did... if you get 2 C's, then you're in academic probation. So I was in academic probation, and I had 1 semester to turn it around, which it did turn around. I was making almost straight A's my second semester. So when I was on the phone with her, I was telling her that, all things positive, my grades were thriving, and how, I told her that my DAT canceled twice and I just had to keep going, and I have no quit in me. And so that was the outcome of all of it. And so it was a really, really good conversation. She was so sweet. Oh, she was so sweet. She was asking me, she said, if I need any help with anything, just let her know. Oh my gosh, she's the sweetest lady ever. That's my angel. I thought I was gonna be thuggatry, but y'all, woo, that lady was my angel. Woo-wee. When I see her in the hallways, I just gotta give her a big hug. Anyways, let me get it together. Whew, because I got finished. I had to get it together. Now I got red eyes and my nose red like Rudolph, but I'm gonna continue on with my story. So now I talked to the assistant dean. It was a great conversation. I just knew that the Lord was working through that lady some kind of way. And so now all I gotta do is finish strong with the master's program. I had about a few, let me see, I think it was in March, I think. So I had like 2 months, and then I was graduating. So after that, remember the Lord said to prepare for my interview because it was going to happen fast. And I said, okay. And it did, y'all. Literally, I wasn't even home. I was a whole hour away. I received the email and it was like, hey, your interview is in 2 hours. It's in 2 hours. And I was like, my interview is in 2 hours. Like, I'm not even home. And I didn't have any time to rehearse nothing because I was an hour away from home. I had to leave where I was at to just go straight home and prepare for my interview. All I had time was to put on a little blazer and get in front of the computer screen. It was time for me to do my interview. And when I say it was the most beautiful, the most peaceful interview I have ever had. It was so easy. It was as if it didn't feel like I was in an interview. It was just like a regular conversation. I don't know if it's because I actually like prepared for my interview, but it was just normal. I was just talking about myself. I was just introducing myself, talking about, undergrad and things like that. And he was talking about how my grades, it wasn't a huge factor because everything else was so strong. Like I had 10 years of dental assisting experience, research and leadership and honors. I had honors in school. I made honors, I think three times I made honors. So I was actually like, my uptrend of grades was really good. But my DAT, it was, it was hanging on by a thread, baby. It was there. It was there. Let me just be clear, but it was not, what I'm saying? It wasn't like 23, 24, you know what I'm saying? So, during the interview, he was talking about my character and we were talking about some things, and I was just like, the kind of person I am, I don't care where I am. If I feel led to talk about something, even if I'm pouring into the other person, I'm going to. And we ended up in a conversation, and I guess the conversation kind of touched his heart a little bit. Because he was a little, getting a little emotional because I was talking about something that I had no idea that was going on in his life. And he found some purpose in my journey and things like that. It was a beautiful conversation, beautiful interview. It was just so good. During that interview, he said, "I'll see you in June." And I said, "See me in June?" In my head, I'm like, so does that mean I'm accepted? Or do they tell everybody see you in June as like, in the conversation, I hope you make it. You know what I'm saying? So I was kind of confused. And I was like, see you in June. You know what I'm saying? I didn't even know. I had no idea, but I felt that the interview was so good. In 3 days, I had my second interview. And so I get on the screen again on Zoom. At the time it was virtual. And I'm talking to the interviewer and she's like, "Patrice." I'm like, "Yes, ma'am." She said, "I guess this is just a process, but I see you in June. You got any questions for me?" I was stuck, y'all. I said, I was stuck, y'all. I was like, wait a minute. Now, I know I've been praying, thank you, Lord, that I got accepted into dental school. My prayers that I pray every single day for years, and the Lord really did come through swinging miraculously. And I can only say that it was the Lord. So then that was a Wednesday, and the next day I received my acceptance into Meharry School of Dentistry, and I was so excited. And it was so cool because I wrote down that I was believing God that I'll be accepted into dental school before I graduate with my master's, and I'll be graduating with my master's knowing that I'll be going to dental school. And that's exactly what happened. When I was graduating with my master's, we also graduated with the medical students and the dentists. Y'all, when I said I was looking over at them like, oh my God, that's gonna be me. And now that I am a D2 student, I literally just like use those same principles that I had throughout my whole journey of like, having faith. You have to get your faith up. Prayer is very powerful. You guys speak the word in every single thing that you do. And it's just so beautiful. Even watching my journey now, y'all, it's so beautiful. Like I do believe that I am gifted. Like the Lord really did gift me in dentistry. Yeah, so even in dentistry, like I could pray and believe, and I could be practicing in the lab for like a filling or something, and during my practice, it's like, I mean, it's good, but like I was like fully confident, and then when the exam come, 100, like literally, that's just how my life is. And I do believe it's because of the biblical principles that I live on, and that is like, important to me, things like that. I made this channel just to inspire you all, and hopefully I could like help you all to receive these miraculous supernatural results and teach you guys how to do it, teach y'all how to get y'all faith weight up, because it is a process, but it's easy, and once you get it, effortless. Everything effortless. Like when I go and take final exams or any kind of exam, my classmates be like, why are you so chill? Like why you not stressed? Like this is a big exam and you just chilling. And I always be like, well, the Lord, he's doing this with me, so I'm not by myself. And if I was doing it by myself, I would have been tripping. But because greater is he that's in me than he that's in the world, and I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me, and all things work together for my good, I'm chilling, baby. Whatever the outcome is, I know I'm a doctor. You can't tell me I'm not a dentist. You know what I'm saying? And now I only have the second half of my D2 year, then I got D3 and D4, then I'll be done. But I'm so grateful for the Lord, how he really guided my steps. And if the Lord can do it for me, y'all, he can do it for you. Even if you're in school and you're trying to pursue to be a doctor, a dentist, a lawyer, a nurse, whatever it is, if the Lord can do it for me, he can do it for you too. And so that's what this channel is about, just showing my journey and also inspiring you all and teaching y'all how to do the same. So I hope you guys like this video. Thumbs up, leave a comment, and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.